From Citizen TV, this is the Monday Report with Trevor Ombija.
Good evening. You're just in time for the Monday Report. Thank you so much for keeping it Citizen TV. This is the show that always gives back the microphone to the people so that they ask their questions in their own way. This evening, we'll be speaking about the Public Service Commission reforms. They are set to launch the Strategic Plan 2025-2029 on Thursday. But what's in the plan? How will it efficiently deliver service to the people? That's a conversation that we'll be having later on this evening with Mary Kimonye, who's the Vice Chairperson, Public Service Commission, Dr. Irene Asienga, the Commissioner from PSC, Dr. Francis Owino, also a Commissioner from PSC, and Harun Hassan, a Commissioner from Public Service Commission as well. And the people will ask them the questions in terms of service delivery and what the plan really has for service efficiency and delivery. We'd like to hear from you as well at Trevor Ombija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Monday Report. But I'm not alone. Emmanuel Ndung is on the other side of the studio. Emmanuel, what's going on in the sporting world?
Yes, good evening everyone. My name is Emmanuel Ndung. We have plenty to get into in the world of sports as usual. We have a review of the magical Kenya Golf Open that recently concluded and news from the national women's football team as well. So stay tuned for that.
Brilliant. Looking forward to that. But first, our top stories tonight.
Vehicles torched and several people injured. Chaotic scenes as violence rocks opposition leaders' tour of Kisii.
Tangu bwanangu akufe haijakuwa rahisi juu yeye ndiye alikuwa tegemeo na kwa saa hii iko hivyo.
Who did it? Families of two people killed during political rallies in Kitengela and Mbale are now demanding for justice. Mystery death at school. Parents protest after grade 8 learner dies at Moi Primary School in Nakuru.
Hakupewa nafasi aitwe ama atandike barua aje aseme imekuwaje. Yeye kufikia jana jioni ambiwa kuwa ametolewa ofisini.
7-day ultimatum to Mombasa governors. Doctors react to the dismissal of the chief officer Iqbal Nandwala at the Coast General Hospital.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Njoki Shege. Now we begin the bulletin from yet another ugly incident at political rallies where scores are nursing injuries following clashes between two youthful gangs in Keroka and Kisii town, moments before the United Opposition held rallies at the two venues. The opposition leaders, led by host Jubilee Party Deputy Leader Fred Matiang'i, blamed state operatives and local political leaders in Abagusi region affiliated to the United Democratic Alliance for mobilizing goons to disrupt the meetings. The United Opposition, who finalized their day one rally at the Abagusi Stadium, pledged to remain united in their quest to make President William Ruto a one-term president. Setholale has more.
Chaos at the Kisii Central Business District. Armed with batons, two groups, one supporting the United Opposition and the other against its tour of Abagusi region, clashed fiercely. The clashes, which erupted Monday morning, brought Kisii town to a standstill, with business and transport coming to a halt. In Keroka, goons who had arrived in a probox to allegedly disrupt a rally escaped death by a whisker after being overpowered by supporters of the United Opposition who torched their vehicle. Jubilee Deputy Party Leader Fred Matiang'i leading the United Opposition in condemning the incidents, accusing state agents and local leaders affiliated to UDA party as being behind the mayhem.
Watoto wetu walienda kwa maandamano 2024, wakaleta mchezo, imekuwa sarakazi, tena wameanza tena mambo ingine ya kuleta violence kwa mikutano kama hii. Mnakubali hayo?
Kasongo anatoa pesa anapatia msemaji Bonoko atafute guns akiwapiga Fred Matiang'i na wageni wake. Ni aibu, sio aibu? Lakini nyinyi watu ya Keroka, vile nimesikia mmetoa hao mbio. Mimi nazoea nyinyi kofia.
Despite the chaos, the opposition leaders including Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, George Natembeya and Eugene Wamalwa addressed their supporters at Mulot, Bomet, Keroka, Keumbu and Ekereno, where Jubilee Party Deputy Party Leader Fred Matiang'i was installed by elders as the Abagusi spokesman.
Sisi tukishikana na Fred, na hapa tumepata hakikisha kwa Fred kwamba hakuna mmoja wetu atarudi nyuma. Yule atarudi nyuma atakuwa ndiye adui nambari 1 wa Wakenya.
Sisi tunataka kuunda serikali ambaye naangalia maslahi ya mwananchi.
Heshima ambayo wazee na jamii imekupa sio kitu kidogo. The scriptures say, Fred, to whom much is given, much is expected.
We have nowhere to go. I pray that God will hold you all together and make sure that we liberate our country.
The day-long campaigns culminating in a mega rally at the Abagusi Stadium. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
Now, 2 families whose relatives were killed during Linda Mwananchi political rallies in Kitengela, that's in Kajiado County, and Mbale in Vihiga County, are demanding for justice. The family of Vincent Ayomo, who was fatally shot in Kitengela area, is calling on the police to take responsibility and provide answers regarding the circumstances surrounding his death. Similarly, the family of George Olande in Kisumu are seeking accountability and justice over the killing of their kin. Citizen TV's Ben Kirui has the details.
It has been a week of grief for the family of Vincent Ayomo, who was fatally shot in Kitengela on February 15th during a Linda Mwananchi political meeting. During a visit to the family's home by the ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, the bereaved family renewed calls for justice and accountability, demanding clear answers from the police over the killing.
Tangu mzae bwanangu akufe haijakuwa rahisi. Juu yeye alikuwa tegemeo na kwa saa hii iko hivyo.
Kwa hii pengo ya Vincent bado itakuwa tumebaki na hiyo machungu ya serikali kuwaua tu na kesi fuatiliwi.
Ishatendeka, tumekubali, but what we just want is justice for our son. Justice for our son. Kuzio pengo yenye ameacha hakuna mtu mwenye anaweza ijaza.
The 2 leaders have called out to the police, urging law enforcement agencies to take responsibility and to bring an end to what they term as arbitrary and unlawful killings.
Tutazidi kushinikiza kwamba wale askari ambao walimpiga Vincent risasi pamoja na vijana wengine wote ambao wameuawa katika maandamano ya amani waweze kuletwa mbele ya sheria.
Condemn this act, and we say that that police officer should be brought to book, because every police officer leaving a station clearly left a station with a gun, and the gun is known, and all the bullets are numbered.
In Kisumu, the family of George Olande Otobe is also mourning the loss of their loved one, who was killed after being attacked by a mob when violence broke out during another Linda Mwananchi meeting in Mbale, Vihiga County. The grief-stricken George Olande's widow recounted the events of February 21st, the day she received the news of her husband's death.
Kuna one friend niko naye kwa hii simu, kumbe alikuwa huko. Akaniambia, "Asifula uko wapi?" Nikamwambia niko kwa ofisi ya kina Luanda, wameniambia wanashughulikia Luanda. Luanda kosi. Nikamwambia watu wana kudanganya. Mbona kama amekufa bwana kako hapa chini?
A post-mortem examination conducted on Sunday established that George succumbed to severe head injuries. Meanwhile, the Kenya Airports Authority (KAA) has dismissed the claims of a security breach at the Kisumu International Airport on Saturday, where an unauthorized group is reported to have gained access to the premise. KAA is responding to claims by the embattled ODM Secretary General and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna that safety protocols at Kisumu Airport was breached and goons allowed inside the airport to waylay them ahead of a political rally in Kakamega. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
All services at the Coast General Hospital in Mombasa risk grinding to a halt following a standoff between doctors at the facility and the Mombasa County government over the suspension of the hospital's chief executive officer, Dr. Iqbal Nandwala. Nandwala was suspended by the hospital's board on Sunday over what the board described as a deterioration in institutional governance and stakeholder relations. But as Kamau Mwangi reports, the move has sparked outrage from the Kenya Medical Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, which has threatened to withdraw the services of all the doctors at the regional facility within 7 days if Nandwala is not reinstated.
Monday morning at the Coast General Hospital in Mombasa, doctors at the facility effected a partial withdrawal of services in protest of Sunday's suspension of the hospital's chief executive officer, Dr. Iqbal Kwandala, by the facility's board. Kwandala, who has already been succeeded by Dr. Sood Mohammed in acting capacity, was sent packing following what the board says is deterioration in institutional governance climate and stakeholder relations affecting the hospital's leadership interface with the community it serves. His colleagues, however, are reading malice, attributing the CEO's troubles to political witch hunt.
Hakupewa nafasi aitwe ama atandike barua aje aseme imekuwaje. Yeye kufikia jana jioni aambiwa kuwa ametolewa ofisini. Kwa hiyo hizi sheria zilizowekwa ni za nani?
Consultants shall suspend all elective procedures. We shall only cater for emergency services. 2. This is not theatrics. It is a defense of clinical independence, constitutional governance, and our safety.
It is not an activity or an action meant to punish the CEO, but to find a lasting solution to endless, cries and endless, comments that we get in social media about this facility.
The board's decision, supported by the county government of Mombasa, solidarity, now drawing the ire of the Kenya Medical Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, that has called for his reinstatement in 7 days, lest it withdraws the services of its members at the facility.
If the issues that we raised in the strike notice will have not been implemented, with number one issue, which we shall not negotiate on, is the revocation of the interdiction of Dr. Kandwala. All the doctors will leave the hospital. We leave it for the politicians, the MPs, the MCAs, and the county government to intervene the best way they can.
The hospital was recently on the spotlight of a service delivery from area leadership and the citizenry alike. Dr. Handwala's suspension eliciting mixed reactions.
Akiwa atakuwa hata resign ama atatetewa arudi, basi hii hospitali tutakisha itafungwa.
Hivi visa ambavyo vimefanya wagonjwa wafe kama hawajatibiwa si cha kwanza. Kandwala hajafanya hiyo. Wataka wagome watoke wote, kuletwa madaktari wapi? In fact wagome kuanzia leo. Wacha hati siku 7. Siku 7 nini?
Kama Mwangi, Citizen TV.
Now, tension and grief erupted at Moi Primary and Junior School following yet another mysterious death of a student in the school. Parents staged a dramatic protest, wheeling the body of the student from the hospital to the school compound, demanding answers over what led to his death. As Emily Chebet now reports, emotions ran high as the family of the boy, who has been identified as grade 8 student Moses Joseph, narrated how the boy left home in the morning full of life.
It was a scene of raw grief and simmering anger along the streets of Nakuru as parents of a grade 8 pupil who died under mysterious circumstances took to the streets in protest, wheeling his body in full view of a stunned public. The body of Moses Joseph was forcefully removed from Nakuru Level 5 Hospital by irate parents. Grief-stricken and frustrated, they questioned what killed a child who had left home in the morning in good health.
Huwa kila wakati naendanga kumfungulia gate. Nikamwambia juu mvua inanyesha na wewe ndio umevaa manguo ya joto, umevaa mpaka jamba iko na kofia, ende ujifungulie Akaenda akafungua geti, akarudisha kifungu. Akatafuta kaambrela chini ya kiti akapata. Nikamfungulia kwa kaambrela, nikameharibika, akajikinga nayo. Akaniambia mam, bye.
Saa 2:45 ndio sasa tunapigiwa simu ati kuja shule. Ni nini? Mtoto amefaint. Tuambia sasa alifaint kwa nini?
According to the hospital's officials, teachers from the school brought the boy to the Nakuru Level 5 hospital, but he was already dead on arrival. After doctors confirmed his death, the teachers were advised to leave the body, which had been placed in a preservation unit, and return with a formal police notification of death. The boy's parents arrived at the facility wheeling the body on a trolley.
Huyu mtoto aliletwa kutoka Moi Primary 9 a.m. leo 23rd of February. Unfortunately, on arrival, confirmed to be was not alive. Was certified dead on arrival.
Mtoto alikuwa sawa 100%, hakuna shida alikuwa nayo. There before hakuna shida asha experience.
Na kidogo akanipigia. Akaniambia unajua Moses leo wakiwa nje wamesimama, alianguka chini, kichwa ikagonga floor. Kumpeleka hosi, head teacher akatoka emergency akakuja akatuambia kwamba mtoto amepass.
The boy's body remained at the school compound for more than an hour as police officers struggled to contain the charged and emotional crowd. Eventually, officers returned the body to Nakuru Level 5 hospital, but parents say they were left without clear answers from the school on what exactly transpired. Speaking to Citizen TV on phone, County Education Director Victoria Mulili confirmed she had received a report on the incident, adding that investigations have commenced to establish the circumstances surrounding the learner's death. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, our deepest condolences to the family that lost their loved ones there. Now, Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, Renson Ingonga, has stated that he can only proceed with prosecutions when he receives case files containing concrete evidence from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, that is IPOA, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the DCI. Speaking in Nairobi during the launch of a new counter-terrorism prosecution curriculum, Ingonga highlighted that delays in submitting crucial evidence have hindered the progress of several cases involving alleged police misconduct. And as Ode Francis now reports, Ingonga cautioned that failure of IPOA and DCI to deliver timely findings risks leaving victims without justice and suspects without trial.
With several cases of police misconduct still pending, the latest being the Kitengela incident, in which police are accused of shooting 2 civilians. Director of Public Prosecution DPP Renson Ingonga has criticized 2 key investigative bodies, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority IPOA and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI, blaming them for delaying justice.
I'll implore upon you, the fourth state, for you to support us on this. Kenyans do not understand the roles of these institutions. You must tell Kenyans that ODPP or the DPP is at the tail end of anything. So unless the investigations are done, the DPP can't do much. That's why you'll hear at times an incident has happened and someone is saying the DPP, instead of saying the investigative agents, which are different depending on the kind of activities.
Speaking in Nairobi during the unveiling of counter-terrorism and anti-terror financing prosecution curriculum, Ingonga said his office is handicapped by the failure of IPOA and DCI to provide critical reports and evidence on police misconduct.
What is important is the investigations, because the way investigations are carried out and evidence collected, that is what informs the DPP to go to court. If the evidence does not meet the threshold, you'll find in some of the cases we don't go to court. We don't refuse, but the evidence gathered, if it's not enough, we don't just go to court for the sake of it. Because we must also get to know that we protect the rights of everyone, even the suspects.
Ingonga defended his office against accusations of inaction, stressing that prosecutors cannot proceed without evidence gathered and submitted by investigative agencies.
Among the unresolved cases are allegations of police shooting 2 individuals in Kitengela, the shooting of 22-year-old woman in Huruma, the use of tear gas inside a church in Othaya, and reports of excessive force during public gatherings in Kitengela and Kakamega.
Like what you're saying, lobbing tear gas and whatever, that's IPOA supposed to be to investigate. The moment they investigate and bring to our attention, that is the time and then the DPP comes.
The DPP further disclosed that the investigative file on the so-called Minnesota saga, where Kenyans were charged in the United States with money laundering linked to the Feeding Our Future program, has yet to be submitted to his office in Kenya for further prosecution. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
So the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has recovered public land worth 281 million shillings in Mombasa County, which had been grabbed by private individuals. The commission says that the parcels were recovered after court judgments which were delivered in favor of Kenya Railways. On the other hand, the commission revealed that a Kenyan Ports Authority employee has been arrested for allegedly engaging in unlawful procurement processes. Elsewhere, a Garissa member of County Assembly, that's an MCA, and 2 former county officials were arrested over alleged fraud in payment of 51.4 million shillings. Now the suspects, Abdi Ibrahim Dar, the MCA from Balambala Ward, former Garissa Director of Accounting Services, Mahmoud Bo Korane, and Yusuf Bete Ali, former senior principal economist at the county government, were arraigned over charges of conspiring to commit an offence of corruption, facilitating payments to Korjare Enterprise and General Supplies Limited for goods and services that were allegedly never procured or delivered to the county in 2022. The court granted each of the accused persons cash bail of 2 million shillings.
Delivered in the High Court at Mombasa, and we shall proceed to execute the judgment once the stay that is pending has lapsed. We have also recovered other parcels of land which are not within here, which were part of our road reserve.
Defending and making sure that the railway property vested by the public remains the property of the public through Kenya Railways. We've been following up this case since 2015. We were enjoined in this case in 2020 by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption. So yes, it has been almost 15 years of pursuing this case, and we feel vindicated, we feel pleased by the court ruling, and we are now ready to move on with the actual possession in paperwork for this property.
Let's talk about the war against HIV. And not everyone at risk of contracting the HIV virus will qualify for the prevention drug lenacapavir. Experts say that the injectable will only be administered to individuals who test negative for HIV and have not had potential exposure to the virus within the past 72 hours. Those currently using other medication, including sexual performance enhancement drugs, as well as those undergoing treatment for tuberculosis, will be required to disclose this information to prevent harmful drug interactions. Safina Chieng Uma has the details.
Kenya recorded just over 19,000 new HIV infections in 2024, translating to about 52 new infections every day, a figure the country aims to reduce to 0 by 2030. It is for this reason that Kenya is expanding its HIV prevention options with the rollout of the long-acting PrEP lenacapavir. However, not everyone at risk of contracting HIV will be eligible to receive the prevention jab.
You can be at HIV risk, even at ongoing risk, but you're not eligible. Everybody who is at risk is eligible. Eligible is a clinical decision made by a healthcare provider.
Health experts have also cautioned individuals using other medications, including sexual performance enhancement drugs, to disclose this information to healthcare providers to prevent potentially severe drug interactions.
TB treatment, in our own lenacapavir, we do a supplemental dose of lenacapavir. Okay, so we'll give extra doses of lenacapavir because TB treatment, TB drugs will break down your lenacapavir faster. For Viagra, or people who are using medications to, for erectile dysfunction, for instance, the recommendation is to begin with a lower dose of the Viagra.
Studies show that when administered correctly, lenacapavir is up to 96% effective in preventing HIV. Those eligible will receive 2 injections administered once every 6 months.
On the initiation day, you received 2 injections, either on the abdomen or on the thigh. Okay? 1 injection each side. And then you're given 2 tablets to take at that time when you're getting the injections. And then you're given 2 tablets to take tomorrow at about the same time.
Kenya has outlined a 3-phase rollout of lenacapavir. The first phase will cover 15 counties, selected based on high rates of knee infections and overall HIV burden. The second phase will target another 15 counties, while the final phase will focus on 17 counties. The medicine complements other prevention approaches like the oral PrEP and cabotegravir. Kenya will be launching its national rollout of lenacapavir this coming Thursday, the 26th of February, 2026. Safina Chingoma, Citizen TV.
Let's talk about a bit of politics now. It is a cabinet on full-time campaign mode, and so brazen the political activities become as President William Ruto intensifies his campaign for a second term ahead of the 2027 elections. The recent active political engagements across the country has triggered debate over the position of cabinet secretaries and other appointed state officers in active political events. Stephen Leto has more.
Power. ODM! ODM!
Without let or hindrance, cabinet secretaries have hit the campaign trail running. Some even don political party colors as they drum up support for President William Ruto's re-election.
Mukongangari kinoma. Kama ni noma noma. Kama ni mbaya mbaya. Kama ni noma noma.
This latest trend raising more questions on the conduct of cabinet secretaries with respect to the execution of their official executive roles. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi only last week turned Treasury buildings into a political setup where he met with Luo Council of Elders in what he fashioned as a meeting seeking to have the direction of the ODM party and the Luo community.
I am the Cabinet Secretary of National Treasury, but it is also not disputable that I'm a Luo.
From Treasury buildings to Siaya County, Mbadi donning an ODM cape campaigned for the broad-based arrangement, taking the battle to ODM rebels.
I have come here because I'm emphasizing and supporting the unity of the Luo community and the unity of our party ODM. If there is anyone out there who thinks that the party will be split, that the party will be divided, you are dreaming.
Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi, also in the Siaya meeting over the weekend, took the mic and rallied the ODM supporters to back ODM UDA talks.
Ndio sababu mimi naunga mkono juhudi ya Mheshimiwa Oburu Oginga ya kuanzisha mazungumzo kirasmi na chama cha UDA ili tuunde pre-election coalition agreement na Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto.
Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku has literally turned Embu County into an election campaign frontline with back-to-back political activities.
Oburu 2032 ODM tutahakikisha kwamba imepata kiti ya naibu wa rais, deputizing Professor Kithure Kindiki.
Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya is also under the spotlight for what has been labelled as interference with ODM party politics in Kakamega County.
We are here to make sure you people understand where the party is coming from and where we are going.
Na wewe Mheshimiwa Oparanya, nataka nikuulize ndugu yangu, wewe ni waziri. Na nataka nimuulize Mheshimiwa William Ruto, huyu waziri wako kama anataka ukuwe na tamu mbili, ni akuje waongee na baraza.
Although the law is not clear on the extent of involvement of cabinet secretaries in politics, under the Public Officers Ethics Act, a public officer shall not engage in political activity that may compromise or be seen to compromise the political neutrality of his office. Under Article 77(2), an appointed state officer shall not hold office in a political party. The upshot of this provision, however, is that appointed state officers should not engage in any political activity or act in a manner that undermines the political neutrality and integrity of their offices. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
All right, on that note, we're taking a quick break here on the Monday Report. When we come back, I'll take you through a few more stories, get to the business news, the sporting world, and then we get into that discussion that's on the other side of our studio. We'll be speaking about the Public Service Commission Strategic Plan 2025-2029. But more than that, we're speaking about the efficiency and effectiveness of public service institutions. You can see my guests already seated there. Mary Kimonyo is the Vice Chairperson, Public Service Commission. Dr. Irina Sienga is the Commissioner, PSC. Dr. Francis Owino is also a commissioner with PSC, and Harun Hassan, a commissioner with PSC as well. Speak to them in terms of service delivery, how effective this strategic plan will be, and also allow the people to ask the questions in their own way. The town hall allows you to ask your questions to those in authority and find out how will this strategic plan change service delivery in the public sector. That's the conversation we're having. We'd also like to hear from you online at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Monday Report. See you in just a bit. Ending maternal deaths. Ministry of Health launches Maternal Death Surveillance and Response Committee.
Some kids are just a step ahead. The winning difference? A spoonful of Blue Band. The only one with the right levels of omega-3 and 6. Blue Band, a spoonful of difference.
Pepsodent Charcoal has two of nature's powerful whitening ingredients. With the power of activated charcoal and lemon essence, it removes stains and whitens teeth naturally.
Convinced? Well, I am. Just look at your beautiful Pepsodent smiles.
Pepsodent Charcoal.
Pepsodent.
Kama unaweza kutuma, kureceive ama kulipa na M-Pesa, now you can invest in shares on the Nairobi Securities Exchange with ZD Trader ndani ya M-Pesa app. No forms, no waiting. Anza hata na share moja. ZD Trader, powered by M-Pesa.
Sometimes, dirt can give us something back. That's why I use new Omo. With naturally derived stain removers, it penetrates deep to reach the toughest stains for unbeatable stain removal.
Lazima nikere kumchuzi mix kwa githeri. Rekumchuzi mix unafry pia kwa chipo. Chakula yoyote unaweza weka rekumchuzi mix. Rekumchuzi mix. Sika kama wewe.
Thank you for staying with the Monday Report. Now, police in Othaya have been granted 10 days to continue holding Sheikh Eid Ali of allegations of molesting 12 minors on diverse dates between 2022 and 2025 during madrasa classes. The Imam, who was arrested in Kiseri and Kajiado County on Friday, is accused of committing sodomy and indecent acts on children aged 5 to 14 years. In granting the request by the police, Principal Magistrate Sandra Ogot placed the Imam in the custody of Othaya Police Station until March the 3rd, when the matter will be mentioned again. In yet another case of medical negligence, a family in Sabati and Vihiga County is demanding for justice after an expectant mother died mysteriously during a delivery process at St. Elizabeth Mukumu Mission Hospital in Kakamega. The family of the deceased claimed that Grace Wamboi Misigo was admitted at the facility but died at the labor ward from what they claim to be medical negligence. As Franklin Wala now reports, an autopsy has since established Grace died as a result of a ruptured body organs.
Despair and grief has taken over the family of Grace Wambui Misigo, an expectant mother who allegedly died at the labor at St. Elizabeth Mission Hospital, Mukumu in Kakamega County.
Tunataka usaidizi.
Her family says Grace was taken to the facility on the 10th of February. She was taken through medical examination and later admitted to the labor ward. It is at the labor ward where her family alleged nurses on duty assaulted her as they forced her to deliver the baby through the normal delivery process. Unfortunately, things will take a tragic turn when Grace started bleeding profusely. The family is accusing medics at the facility of mishandling her.
Niliwaambia tu nimeisha nguvu. Watoto wangu mimi nakufa na nyinyi mnaniangalia. Kazi yao ni kumchapa tu, wanamwambia sukuma mtoto. Aliwaambia tu sioni. Na madaktari kidogo hivi nikasikia tu dokta wakakuja wakajaa.
Kumkuta nikahuzunika sana. Muda kidogo nikamwambia sasa tufanye aje? Wakasema tunamprepare aende theater. Kidogo wananiambia nenda ulipe bill. Nikamwambia nasi kwani haifanyi? Wakaniambia huyu mgonjwa hajakaa hapa 72 hours. Therefore you are going to pay cash.
As events unfolded, medics recommended Grace be admitted to the theater for a C-section operation. But it was too late. Grace and her baby died, with an autopsy exercise confirming cause of her death was rupture of body organs, among them both ribs and the uterus.
From our view, tuliona my sister-in-law alikufia labor ward. Because your resuscitation alikuwa anagongwa kifua, anagongwa kweli mpaka hata kwa ambulance bado wanagonga, wanakimbiza na wanagonga. Ndio in fact we just knew she was dead because blood was all over. Tukademand tuone mwili, wakaleta kelele wakatupia polisi. There's a lot of negligence in this hospital. My sister-in-law could not have died.
Kaniambia inaonekana during that delivery alirupture uterus. Ako wapi? Ako huko amepumzika. Sasa hapo nikajua tu amekufa. Our
week-long effort to get a comment from the management at St. Elizabeth Mission Hospital Mukumu proved futile. Grace will be buried at her home in Sabatia, Vihiga County. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Now, the government has raised the alarm over rising maternal and newborn deaths in 26 high-burden counties. Health Cabinet Secretary Aidan Duale says every maternal death must spark immediate action as the ministry rolls out an accelerated national response plan. The initiative targets gaps in emergency referrals, staffing, blood supply, essential commodities, and financial barriers that continue to put mothers and newborns at risk. Emily Chebet has more.
Hundreds of mothers continue to lose their lives each year while giving birth, with excessive bleeding, also known as postpartum hemorrhage, remaining the leading cause. 26 counties have been identified as bearing the highest burden of maternal and newborn deaths, prompting the government to roll out an accelerated national response. Speaking during the inauguration of the National Maternal and Perinatal Death Surveillance and Response Steering Committee, Health CS Aidan Duale said every maternal death must trigger an immediate review and corrective action.
This matter will not end and is not going to be academic. If it's going to be academic, I have no business being the Minister for Health. Let me be very clear. So we have already mapped out 26 high-burden counties. We will appreciate the counties that are doing very well, and we will have a sitting with those 26 counties.
The newly formed committee has been tasked with reviewing every maternal and newborn deaths. The health CS has directed the team to identify the exact causes, including any cases of negligence, and recommend firm corrective action.
If a review identifies delays in a referral, then ambulances, fuel, communication, and clear protocols must be fixed, not next year, but today, now. And that is why we are here today.
If a consultant or a doctor will be accused, or a healthcare will be accused for the death of a mother of a child because of that healthcare worker negligence, we have the powers to suspend, deregister that healthcare worker.
The Ministry of Health says it is leveraging the digital superhighway to track maternal deaths and improve data for action. CS Duale has called on all health facilities to ensure that they report cases immediately.
We have a digital system in this country. I've been extremely impressed when we go around the counties with the CS. In Bomet, we were there. In 2 minutes, the CS could open and see which facility lost a mother. We could even go down to the name of the mother and the doctor who saw them.
We're going to start 3 months of maternal newborn death activism in our country. 3 months activism. We must, all of us, go to counties. We must amplify. We must go and talk in the villages. And we must tell citizens to report facilities that allow mothers and children to die.
Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The first edition of the Africa Editors Congress has kicked off in Nairobi, with media leaders across the continent raising concern over the growing use of artificial intelligence in newsrooms. Editors say while AI presents opportunities for faster content production and fact-checking, it also poses some ethical challenges and threats to editorial integrity. The forum called for clear guidelines and stronger capacity building to ensure technology strengthens, not weakens, journalism in Africa. The two-day conference also seeks to tackle media freedoms as well as sustainability. Over 250 delegates from 14 countries across the continent are attending the conference held at the Aga Khan University.
Idea generation, where 90% of newsrooms are using AI for that, I would suggest you park that and give that back to your reporters, right?
When we assess, even locally as editors, our media environment, we realize that you have to rely heavily on other agencies, for example, for the African story, on basics such as the economic story.
News is going to be a premium because definitely fresh content, new content, which is what we create as journalists, is going to be valuable. Why are we killing ourselves over the slop that is being produced by AI? And how do we protect our content from being utilized by these platforms?
President William Ruto says the national carrier will have a new board in days in the latest attempt to steady the airline. Now, President William Ruto has announced that a new board will be appointed at the Kenya Airways this week in the latest attempt to steady the financially strained airline. The announcement comes as the carrier faces leadership changes, investor speculation, and mounting balance sheet pressure. Here now is Jasmine Wamboi with the details.
Speaking at the Kenya Open on February 22nd, President William Ruto confirmed that the changes will be made to the Kenya Airways board within days, saying the airline will be his next focus.
Kenya Airways, the pride of Africa, is our jewel. And I want to tell the good people at Kenya Airways, that's going to be my next focus. In fact, this week, we will appoint a new board for Kenya Airways to make sure that we get men and women who are going to drive the transformation of Kenya Airways as we transform our nation.
The announcement comes as the carrier undergoes a leadership transition. Group Managing Director and CEO Alan Kilavuka recently exited after 6 years, having steered the airline through the COVID-19 crisis and a period of operational recovery. Captain George Kemal is currently serving as Group Managing Director and CEO as the search for a substantive office holder begins. Investor sentiment has also improved in recent weeks. KQ's share price has rallied to 5 shillings and 50 cents per share amid reports of ongoing discussions with potential strategic investors. While various international firms have been mentioned in market speculation, the airline has not confirmed any deal, stating that disclosures will be made in line with the Capital Markets Authority regulations once talks are concluded. Even so, the financial picture remains fragile. For the half-year ending June 2025, the airline posted a negative book value of 129.5 billion shillings, meaning its liabilities outweigh its assets by that margin. KQ's current shareholding stems from the November 2022 restructuring. The government of Kenya retains a 48.9% stake, while a consortium of local banks, including Equity, KCB and Cooperative Bank, hold approximately 38% after converting loans into equity. KLM Royal Dutch Airlines holds a further 7.8% stake. Minority shareholders hold 2.8%, with a further 2.4% 50% owned by employees through the Employee Share Ownership Plan. The roots of the airline's financial strain trace back to the debt-funded expansion strategy known as Project Mawingu, launched in 2009. The plan sought to significantly expand destinations and fleet size, but was undermined by shifts in global market conditions, security challenges, infrastructure setbacks, intensifying competition from Middle Eastern carriers, and later the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Kenya Airways on its website currently lists only 9 board members, including George Kamal, Festus Kingori, Raphael Owino Otieno, Christopher James Barkley, Esther Koimet, Philip Wanjohi Wambugu, Habel Waswani, Alex Mbuvi, and Teresia Mbaika. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
Now, stakeholders from the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, are calling for urgent reforms to unlock intra-Africa agricultural trade. They say structural bottlenecks continue to stifle the region's vast potential. And as Jimmy Mbogo now reports, among the challenges cited are sanitary and phytosanitary compliance and certification systems, which participants described as fragmented and poorly harmonized across member states.
Smallholder farmers across the continent continue to pay the highest price due to structural bottlenecks that impede their ability to take advantage of intra-Africa trade. This is according to Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD experts, who claim that fragmented and inoperable digital platforms continue to hinder seamless information sharing among border agencies. This has resulted in many countries operating parallel systems, forcing traders to submit documents multiple times manually.
Cross-border agricultural trade is not merely a commercial activity. It is a lifeline for our region. It is sustain food security, create jobs, support pastoralists, smallholder farmers, traders, transporters, and millions of women and youth whose livelihood depend on unpredictable and efficient market. Yet, we are all here aware of the structural bottlenecks and continue to constrain the trade.
Inefficient and costly border procedures have also been cited as major structural constraints. Delays of perishable goods such as fresh fruits, vegetable and livestock products often translate into direct financial losses.
Certification systems are fragmented. Traceability is weak in some value chains. Customs platforms are not always interoperable. Border procedures can be slow and costly. These inefficiencies increase the cost of doing business and reduce competitiveness. They affect smallholder farmers, the pastoralists, the MSMEs, the women leaders, youth entrepreneurs, and informal cross-border traders.
With agriculture employing millions across the region, the 3-day forum is set to explore solutions that will help in fixing these structural bottlenecks and boost intra-Africa trade, particularly in the agriculture sector. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The Nairobi Coffee Exchange has unveiled an ambitious 5-year strategic plan aimed at transforming coffee trading in the country as the government pledges to protect farmers from exploitation and boost their earnings. The plan seeks to modernize the exchange, enhance transparency, and position Kenyan coffee more competitively in global markets. Dennis Otieno has the details.
The 2026 to 2030 strategic plan marks what the exchange describes as a shift from being just a marketplace to becoming a driver of reform in the coffee sector. At the heart of the plan are key pillars focused on radical transparency, market expansion, value optimization for farmers, institutional excellence, and innovation and sustainability. The exchange says it will roll out digitized trading systems, real-time market data, and full traceability from farm to cup to improve price discovery and restore trust across the value chain.
We've also digitized a lot. We stream our auctions live, we do remote bidding, we ensure that we are having a fair and transparent system.
This strategy also seeks to deepen Kenya's presence in established specialty markets while opening doors to new global buyers in a bid to increase demand and secure better prices. Value optimization for farmers remains central, with proposed pricing mechanisms that reward quality, sustainability, and consistency. The government has welcomed the plan, saying reforms in the coffee sector must ensure farmers earn a fair share and are shielded from exploitation.
Before the government initiated these reforms, the price to the farmers had gone down to around even 20 shillings to 40. But now, farmers are running to the tune of 120 to even 150 shillings per kilo of cherry.
The plan further outlines stronger governance, compliance, and operational efficiency alongside climate-smart practices, youth inclusion, and integration of small businesses in processing and logistics.
The bigger idea we have is we want to prepare Nairobi Coffee Exchange as a regional hub where coffee from the region is trended.
The Nairobi Securities Exchange says execution of the strategy will be key to restoring confidence and improving returns for hundreds of thousands of smallholder farmers who depend on coffee. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV.
Business News brought to you by Safaricom Business.
With Lipa and M-Pesa, manage payments niko rahisi. Join Safaricom Business today and power your progress.
Get Decca roofing tiles at 500 shillings each from Royal Mabati Factory Limited. It's soundproof, long-lasting, corrosion-resistant.
17 Kenyan golfers, 2027 promises to be a better tournament for Team Kenya.
Jarvis Casey from South Africa won the tournament and walked away with the top prize money of 59 million Kenyan shillings. For Njoroge Kibugu, finishing tied for position 61 meant he got almost $1 million shillings in prize money. For the likes of Captain Edwin Mudanyi and John Lejirma, they just missed the cut by 2 strokes. The performance of the Kenyan professionals in 2026 is much better than what they did in 2025. And with Njoroge Kibugu making the cut and the kind of rewards that he has received, it shows that the Kenyan pros are improving and they want to do much better come 2027 Magical Kenya Open. Focus has immediately shifted to the 2027 tournament. The stakeholders are singing the same song, that the Kenyan professionals need to be playing week in, week out at the highest level if they are to compete with the best at the Magical Kenya Open.
I think it's a matter of opportunity and how many sort of opens do you actually participate in? Because that also gives you your mentor training, your sort of obviously tests and all that. So as many times as you do, you go over what we call the tipping point, the 10,000 hours that makes you so good.
The government has committed to a deliberate plan to grow sports and sports infrastructure, and golf is part of that plan. This means increasing the funding for sports.
Over time that I've seen governments allocate, your government has allocated the largest amount of resources to grow sports and facilities for sports in this country, and on that score, you have kept your eyes on the ball. We will continue to escalate our support for sports in Kenya. And we are matching what we are saying with what we are doing.
For this to be effectively utilized, it will no longer be the burden of the sports ministry alone. It will be concerted efforts across several ministries and government departments.
In organizing this tournament, we were able to work within a whole government approach. And this time round, we have agreed with the Minister of Tourism to work together on all international tournaments so that we can use the opportunity to also market our country.
President William Ruto says he recognizes the potential in the youth in sports and the need to start early in tapping the talents. Golf will now have a new strategy in identifying new talents at a younger age.
We have now approved, as a government, the curriculum for golf to be part of the games that can be taught in school.
Between now and the next Magical Kenya Open, plans are at an advanced stage to ensure that the Kenyan pros play many build-up tournaments in the country. Michael Kinyi for Citizen TV.
In other sports news, the national women's football team, the Harambee Starlets, will play 2 friendly matches and also camp in France ahead of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. FKF President Hussein Mohamed says the Starlets will play Benin and Ivory Coast before heading to the south of France to camp in Miramas. The Starlets have been in camp for almost 3 weeks as the technical bench looks for the best combinations for AFCON in Morocco at the end of next month. Coach Beldine Odemba has increased the competition for slots in the team by calling up to 10 players from the under-20 national team who she believes have gathered enough experience to fight for a slot in the senior team. The 2 friendly matches against Benin and the Ivory Coast will be played in Abidjan in the Ivory Coast at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium. Kenya will play Benin on the 4th of March before they tackle Ivory Coast on the 6th of March.
Tunafeel at home. Kwanza Moso sisi wenye ni first call up, tunafeel tuko nyumbani. Aim yetu kama venye kocha alisema ni semi-final na mimi na believe na preparation yetu tumefanya tutafika hiyo semi-final. Kambi ya players mostly wengi ni new lakini unaweza kuwa new kwa kama player lakini kwa football sio new. But preparation iko sawa, mood iko sawa, watu wako ready.
Now, before we throw over to Trevor on the other side, we have some news in the world of football. UEFA has provisionally suspended Benfica winger Gianluca Prestiani for 1 match after he allegedly made a racist comments to Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. That incident occurred in a Champions League match between Real Madrid and Benfica last week. And upon the request of UEFA's Ethics and Disciplinary Inspector, Prestiani will miss the second leg while the investigations continue. But we'll have more information on that as we get it. As you can see, Trevor Mbija is here for a very important discussion on public service reforms and transformations on the other side. So I'd like to hand over to Trevor Mbija, who will take you through that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emmanuel. That's the exact conversation we're going to have. They're set to launch a strategic plan 2025-2029. We'll find out what's in that strategic plan that will enhance efficiency in public service delivery. But that's coming up right after this break. PAC set for transformation as government sets out new strategic plan. But what will change? Tonight on the Monday Report Town Hall, we discuss the looming reforms.